Whoa, welcome in. Front Yard Fantasy Football Game Show. Game Shay? What the heck is a
Game
game
Shay.
Shay? Dang it, JL. You're hosting for
Start it
two
again.
shows.
Ah!
All right. Ready? Woo! Welcome in. Let's go. Fantasy Football Game Show. We're here. Front Yard Fantasy, Better Sports Network. Joey, Tim, JL, we're here. We got a special guest with us today. Good friend of the show, best friend of the show. It's the man over at Vipers Network, Matt Donnelly. How you doing today, Matt?
I'm doing really good, actually. I mean, this is the calm before the storm right now because I have a lot of kids to begin with, but the wife decided to be fun to bring more kids to our home this weekend. So she's actually making a 15, 20-minute drive to pick up initial 2 or 3 kids. My daughter, she's going into labor right now, so she could be having another kid here anytime. That's grandchild number 6 possibly coming this weekend.
I remember when you first told me about all of your kids, and I was just like, we live different lives. We live entirely different lives.
Canadian winters just hit a little bit different, man.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it makes sense. It makes sense. We got a Scott Fish Bowl mock draft for you all today.
Yes,
we got some people here in the chat. We got Strong Style Ninja said, "Here we go, bro."
Jail, take a breath.
No, I'm laughing at Strong Style Ninja came in here and scooped Victor and changed just slightly. He pulled the Skyfish, just slightly changed his own Victor's catchphrase. He said, "Here we go, brochachos."
Did he spell brochachos correctly? Is it?
I think so.
Yeah, I think he did. I think he got it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Wow. Now that you say it, that looks like a very weird word.
Mm-hmm.
And Victor coming in saying, "Hola, brochachos. Happy Friday. I'm ready for this Skyfish Bowl mock." Picking from the 3 spot, and then saying some nice words about Coop. What's going on, Victor? Welcome in. I logged onto Twitter earlier, and I just saw like people being like, I support Coop. And my first thought was, oh no. Oh no.
Brutal.
Like, okay.
Straight to the dark side.
So Coop got into a fight with a raccoon outside of Fenway Park, and we're just all here to support him, you know?
We are.
To support our boy.
So Boston. I can't even believe it.
That's so Boston.
Give me my beer.
Give me my beer. We got
the raccoon took my beer.
Where's the car?
Again.
Why did I picture Ben Affleck perfectly? Like you nailed Ben Affleck there, Tim. I don't know how you did it. We got Greg in here. Said FYF factoid of the day. Today's guest joined JL Josh Fuster for a mock draft on May 24th, 2021. And his only other FYF appearance to date. That's crazy. Welcome back, Matt. Glad to have you.
It's been a while, and I'm almost afraid to go back and look at that mock draft and see how bad it actually turned out.
Maybe it was amazing. Maybe you drafted like Deebo Samuel, and that's the only player I can think of that did well that year.
Probably not. It doesn't seem like my style to draft good players.
We got Albert in here. We got Dame in here. Said, "Happy Friday, friends." What's going on, Dame? We got Bob in here. Bob Harris. Welcome in, Bob. Man, somewhere Simon's ears are cawing.
Yeah, Netherlands probably.
Netherlands, most likely. Man, all right. Let's pull up this draft board and get this underway. I see the rest of these comments in the chat. We're going to pull these up as we're drafting.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Hashtag Eagle Screen, baby.
Hashtag Eagle Screen. Okay, this is not
it. Yep.
Okay.
Here, I can I'll just share it. Don't worry about it.
We can switch accounts if that's easier, Joe.
I don't mind people seeing my queue. It happens every Friday night. There we
go. That's true.
Oh, that's all my stuff. Yeah, we'll get it figured out.
I don't think I've ever
Let's start the draft though. I'll go ahead and start it off there.
I've never made a queue in my life and actually stuck to it. I get to that point and I'm like, oh wait, never mind. I'm not picking this guy.
I'm just gonna go with this other guy. I feel like I don't use the queue because every time I do, those players are just gone, or they're either gone by my next shot, or they're in my queue for like the next 15 rounds because no one's drafting them.
That's usually not a good sign. If you got guys in your queue that are like sitting there for 15 rounds, it's probably not a good sign in general.
Yeah.
These late round stashes, man.
I used to be somebody that would load up my queues, but I would have to say that I think Sleeper's ADP has been really good this offseason coming in. I mean, once we get towards the middle rounds, I start moving around a little bit. But for those first few rounds, I'm finding the players I want right there at the top of the board. All right, so we'll see. We had Travis Kelce go number 2 off the board. Matt, how do you feel about Travis Kelce? And this is a tight end premium league, being Scott Fishbowl. How do you feel about him going as the 102? Is that too early, or is that merited?
No, I think it's merited. I mean, I'm sitting in the 102 chat room right now. I'm picking from the 102 spot when it comes to the Scott Fish, and Travis Kelce is a very realistic target for me at that spot. I mean, you could argue guys like Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts at the 2 spot, but that Travis Kelce, he's really a difference maker when it comes to it. The one good thing about this year's Scott Fishbowl is there's no negative points. So those quarterbacks that typically hurt you in the past because of interceptions, turnovers, incomplete passes, you don't have to worry about that mistake. So Travis Kelce looks really good at that 2 spot. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see him go number 1 overall in 15% of the drafts come Scott Fishbowl day.
Excellent. So I see Josh Allen slips to 105. That's quite a value. That's the latest I've seen him go in any Scott Fishbowl mocks this offseason. Yeah. So good pick there. So Tim and Jay, you're Lamar Jackson. Go ahead, Matt.
I was going to say the Lamar Jackson sliding up to 103, I think is what kind of pushed Josh Allen down. Like I got Jalen Hurts as my number 1 quarterback in this format, even above Patrick Mahomes. But when you slide someone like Lamar Jackson, who's more than capable of producing in fantasy, I mean, you could argue Lamar Jackson could be that number 1 because of that Konami code ability, much like Jalen Hurts. And now the weapons on this Baltimore offense there, they've got one of the top 5 offensive lines in the league. This could be one of those big time, even a better than his MVP type season for Lamar Jackson. So maybe we're sleeping on Lamar Jackson. Maybe we're giving Josh Allen too much credit right now, especially with Damian Harris now being in the fold in Buffalo.
Absolutely. That rushing upside is going to help Lamar out a lot. So, Tim, you took Christian McCaffrey, and I really like that he fell to you at the 111. That's something that I've been taking from the 108 a lot because Justin Fields just doesn't seem to make it to me there. And then that's where I'm going to take a running back after that.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about McCaffrey in this format?
I mean, I love it, and I knew Jay was going to take Tyreek. I knew he was going to make the rounds. See that this is why I'm throwing this draft out because that's not how I generally am going to be drafting. But I
love that turn.
I love McCaffrey, and you know what? I'm gonna double dip here. I want these catching backs to give me all of those receiving first downs. The volume there, I think, is worth trying something new. I usually double dip quarterback here, or I go to Tyreek. But yeah, I want to see how this build works out for me because if anything like this happens in my actual draft, these are my 1 and 2 running backs on the year already. And if I have them, I'm a happy camper.
The double running back play or that build in Scott Fishbowl it's risky. It's high. It's definitely high upside. But exactly. I'm very interested to see what the wide receiver and quarterback situations are going to be here later.
But on the turn here, when we get that reversal, that's where a lot of the value comes back to save me. So I think it might work out. We'll see.
I can't do it. I was gonna take Mark Andrews. I just Kelce. I can do it right away, but Andrews up. So Luke took him right after me. So maybe I should have done it, but no. I'm hesitating. I know it's tight end premium, but just couldn't pull the trigger on Andrews.
So William Jones in the chat said, would love to hear your takes on the various rule nuances and players you think have the most drastically impacted values. So this is Scott Fishbowl, and here are the Scott Fishbowl rules. Let's see.
I mean, Josh Allen, huge upside, no negative. The man was throwing picks left and right last season. If he's all positive this year, that is scary. Absolutely scary.
I would take Justin Fields above Joe Burrow in this format. Because if there's no, like you said, all positives, no negatives, I'm much more comfortable with Fields. So I was really happy to get him at the 108.
And one of the ones I really like here in this format with the no negatives, and I passed on him for Deshaun Watson, is Dak Prescott, who had a bad habit of throwing picks last season. I think he threw almost more picks than anyone else playing half the game. So if you take out those negative equations for the statistics here, Dak Prescott is looking. Yeah, there you go. He's one of those guys. You're like, okay, this is one of those guys that could make a huge difference. Getting him in the late second, early third. So if you've gone out and got yourself a Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts early, you're laughing getting Dak Prescott at 211, 212, or you're even laughing even harder at 301. So, I mean, Dak Prescott feels like that one quarterback that you're going to get the best value on based on the scoring format here.
Absolutely. Now, JL, you're picking from the 112. I do not know if that's where you're picking in Scott Fishbowl, but is this kind of start that if you were going from the 112, you'd be really happy with?
I would love this start. Yeah, the double QB, two QBs who I think are, I don't think they're drastically undervalued, but just slightly undervalued. And then Tyreek Hill, who I expect to be a really important piece for fantasy this year. I mean, last year we got a taste of it. And I know everyone's in on Tyreek Hill right now. It's hard not to be, but there's merit to back that up. The offense is built around him, and he's in his prime. So, yeah, I'm hyped about this build so far.
I gotta want to talk about that build that's going on right now at the 109 spot there. Swamp Nola, Chase, Brown, Lamb. You talk about premier wide receivers there, alpha type dudes. They're loading up there at 109. I don't know what's going to look like here in rounds 4 and 5 when it comes to the quarterback play, but I mean, those 3 wide receivers are all going to be arguably top 6 wide receivers in PPR scoring.
Yeah, Joey timed out there. So we had Lupe going with Derrick Henry. Yeah, so those 3 wide receivers, I've seen Swamp start that way in a few of our Scott Fishbowl mocks we've done on the Friday Night Mock Show as well. And he tends to put together a pretty interesting team. I always like looking at his quarterbacks.
Oh, crap, I'm up, eh? get too busy watching everything else going on. You don't pay attention to your own screen.
It's exciting. So, Tim, you've not taken a quarterback yet. Are you nervous?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, very nervous. But I was probably going to pull the trigger on Dak there. Obviously, it can't happen because he got selected. So then I just had to pivot. And Devontae Adams to me is another one of those guys, quarterback proof. He's arguably the best actual receiver, maybe not fantasy, but just the best physical receiver in the game. Yeah, give me him as my one, and we'll figure it out at the end. There's some guys down there, hopefully that stay in rounds 4 to 6 that I still really like QB wise. So we'll see. And I see a couple double taps up there, probably in the work. So we'll see. I think
double taps
might work out. Quarterbacks double taps.
We're killing zombies here on the F5 show today, apparently.
What was it? Rule number 4.
Yeah, is it rule number 4? I haven't watched Zombieland in a long time. Matt, I want to ask you about Chris Olave. Do you think with Derek Carr he's going to have a better sophomore season, or do you see maybe a little regression for him?
I really like this Saints team for fantasy, and that means Olave is going to hit. He's basically unguardable. I mean, I think he had like a 75% success rate against man coverage last season. You can't guard Olave one-on-one, and Derek Carr is an upgrade over Andy Dalton and Jameis Winston. You add in Michael Thomas. If he plays, that's going to open up things a little bit deeper for Olave. And you got the need for Rashid on the other side there. So you've got all kinds of weapons in the Saints offense that should open things up for a guy like Olave. And I think he's going to be a top 12 wide receiver as far as fantasy is concerned this season. So I really like what Olave can do. I think he's great value there. He's right there for me with Waddle. And when you talk about Amon-Ra St. Brown there. Oh, crap, up again.
I'll roll it back if you don't get who you want here. I pulled the Simon. I asked you the question when you were about to be on the clock.
Classic. While you do that, I want to go back to this question from William Jones about the nuances and the rules for Scott Fishbowl. So it's essentially a superflex league, giant term, right? Superflex league. And then we have it's going to be PPR, and then really the only other differences that stand out are tight end premium, the 1 point per first down, 1 point per reception is normal, and the kicking, which we can probably ignore. So how are those the changes? Are the first downs affecting how you guys are looking at some of these players? The tight end premium.
I mean, I think it helps some of the tight ends there. I think it helps some of these slot receivers, these bigger slot guys too, that are going to work in that area. One of the guys that comes to my mind is going to be a guy like Christian Kirk, who last season ran about 76% of his patterns there out of the slot. Then when someone got hurt, he had to go bounce out to the outside. They've got Calvin Ridley there, which means Christian Kirk should be able to remain in the slot, which means he should have some more of those targets underneath, which should be more first downs in his favor there. As far as kickers are concerned, I think there's even more value to kickers. No negatives for missing, and I think it's like 0.1 per yard. So a 33-yard field goal is 3.3 points. I think there's a lot of value to be had in kickers here, and I think we just don't want to draft kickers. Let's be honest. We don't want to draft kickers because it's not the sexy thing to do. It really isn't. But I think when you get later in the drafts, they're going to be a solid flex play in this format, one way or the other.
Yep.
Oh man, I was going to draft a kicker on this just after you said that.
Now, does MFL? Do you have to draft a kicker in MFL? Because I know in
Sleeper,
on Sleeper, you do have to take one.
Last year, we did not. I was on MFL last year. There was no kicker draft. Now, saying that, I think I ended up drafting 3 of them just for fun when we got later on the drafts. But I don't believe that was a thing that we had to do on MFL.
Tim, with Russell Wilson as your first quarterback, I like that pick.
Yeah, pretty fine with it.
All right. So, JL, I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to look through these teams for the first 4 rounds. I want you to pick one out that you really like. Who do you like other than yourself? Because we know you love your own team.
All right, give me a second to look through the teams.
Okay. I put you on the spot there. I apologize. Well, I will tell you whose team I like, and that's Jordan's, because he sniped me on pretty much every single pick that I wanted to make. I was shocked Daniel Jones fell as far as he did. He is a quarterback that I absolutely love in this format, and I almost had him in my grasps, and thank God we're playing this league out so that Jordan can profit from that for the rest of the season.
No, I really like Matt's team. Like, you hit on all 4 of those players, I think are going to be valuable this year. Jalen Hurts, solid pick to really lock up that QB position. And Sean Watson, I think, is a perfect QB2 on that team. And then the Breece Hall, Chris Olave pair, spot on, Matt. I like that.
Yeah, I owe everything to the auto drafter for taking Breece Hall for me, so I can't take full credit there. I was just actually going to pair Amari Cooper up with Deshaun Watson, but he just went off the board ahead of me, which now means I have to rethink my whole process of what I was going with. And I look at this, and there's still some good wide receivers here, but I don't see that guy that's going to make that huge difference. So I'm going to take a shot here. I'm going to take a little bit of a gamble on Calvin Ridley just to kind of give him a wide receiver too. I don't think he's going to be what we remember him last as when he was with Atlanta. It's going to take some time. There's still rust on there, right? So for me, the one thing with Calvin Ridley that he's not going to learn how to forget is how to separate. He was one of the best wide receivers when it came to separation. I know everyone has Calvin Ridley considerably higher than Christian Kirk. I'm still a Christian Kirk guy myself. I don't think there's a big gap between the two. And I think this is one of the situations where both these wide receivers help each other. I mean, Trevor Lawrence had about 36 passing attempts per game last season. There's no reason not to believe that Calvin Ridley and Christian Kirk can't both get theirs in this offense, especially because we already know that for whatever reason, Doug Peterson does not like to throw the ball to Travis Etienne and get him included in the pass game. So that's kind of where I'm standing there. I don't feel too terrible about that. And then looking at the running back position, this one's kind of hurt because I had, obviously, Aaron Jones was my target here coming back. I was going to take him before even Amari Cooper there, but our good old friend there, Swamp Nola, is doing I don't know what over there, but it's working for them. And then J.K. Dobbins is another one of those guys I was kind of looking at as a potential sleeper here at the position. So now I'm going to get a guy that we've been talking about and maybe draft a little bit higher is Miles Sanders. Because the one thing that we do know is Miles Sanders, contrary to popular belief, he can catch passes. We've all seen the video here recently come out, him sitting down with the coaching staff and reminding everybody that he caught 50 balls for like 500 yards his rookie season in Philadelphia. And the reason why he wasn't producing in fantasy maybe as much as we'd want is because we weren't seeing those PPR numbers, those receptions coming into account. Dude was 5th in the league in rushing, and that was behind, obviously, the best line in the league. But Carolina doesn't have a terrible line. I think I have them as the 15th ranked offensive line in the league. They're getting better every day. They got some weapons a little bit to the outside, nothing fancy. So there's going to be opportunity for Miles Sanders. And Bryce Young is going to like to check the ball down. He's going to have to check the ball down from time to time, and that's where someone like Sanders really comes into the equation.
I love that. I love that. So something I'm seeing here, and it's happening for the first time, I think on a FYF show, is Brandon Ayuk actually going before Deebo Samuel. And I know we talked about it yesterday. Tim, I want to ask you, because I didn't get to ask you yesterday. If you're on the clock and you have the choice between a San Francisco wide receiver and you have to pick one of them, is it going to be Deebo Samuel or is it going to be Brandon Ayuk for you?
I think for me, it's still going to be Deebo. Just the way he's used is a little bit more versatile than how Brandon Ayuk has been used. I know he had a pretty great season last season, the back half of it, so he's got a lot of momentum building. But if we don't know really what's going on at the quarterback, yeah, I just wanted to click that quick. If we don't really know what's going on with the quarterback, I think they're going to have 2 safety nets, and I think those safety nets are going to be Deebo and McCaffrey before they get to those, those electric playmakers on the outside like Ayuk. So that's where I would go. But plus, I mean, Deebo still has that rushing clause where he gets like $750,000 if he rushes for like 3 touchdowns or something like that. So he's going to be incentivized to do that. But that's just where I would lean. It's close though.
The thing is it's really close, and I don't know how I feel about Ayuk going. I said I would take him before him, but going 10 picks in front of Deebo Samuel. Now my head is all a mess. Matt, how do you feel about those 2 players?
I'm on Team Ayuk here all the way through. I think it is close. I think it's one of those situations, much like Jacksonville there with Ridley and Christian Kirk, where you got 2 wide receivers that are going to be very close in the numbers. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin come to mind too as 2 teammates very similar in where you're going to find them as far as fantasy production is concerned. That being said, I do like Ayuk. I think he does a lot of better things. I think he pushes the ball down the field a little bit more, gives him an opportunity to stretch the field. And I think Deebo Samuel, what he does best is a lot of what Christian Kirk does Now I'm thinking Christian Kirk all the time, is what Christian McCaffrey does very well too. So you've got 2 players in Samuel and McCaffrey that do very similar type stuff and are both good at it, which I think kind of cuts into each other's production to a degree. And Christian McCaffrey is also going to lose some touches in the run game to Elijah Mitchell. Let's not forget about him. So that means Deebo Samuel is probably going to lose some of his touches to Christian McCaffrey.
Absolutely. JL, I want to commend you on something. I'm looking at your team here, and I always kind of like watching runs and where runs start and end. And you kind of started the second run of tight ends, getting George Kittle at the 501 after Hawkinson went at the 310. How did you feel about that? How do you feel about Kittle in this format?
I felt great about that. It's tight end premium. Kittle to me is the last of that tier there with Hawkinson, Pitts, and honestly, I don't think he's the last of the tier. I think he's at the top of that tier, and so I think I got a great value on him. Looking at where the rest of the tight end value went on the board. But otherwise, I'm looking forward to seeing what Kittle's able to do this year. I know everybody's worried about the quarterback, the ambiguity around the quarterback position on that offense. I'm not worried. It seems like they have 2 very good quarterbacks, which is a good problem to have.
So who are those 2 good quarterbacks? Is it Trey Lance, and are you including Sam Darnold in this?
The ghost of Jimmy Garoppolo.
Something I was just looking at, Craig does not have a running back yet. I'm really interested to see what his team looks like. JL, no, I completely agree with your value on Kittle. I was kind of glancing over the board, and I was like, holy poop. Can't believe he got that.
Yeah, I was thinking about going another wide receiver there, since I have only got Deebo and Tyreek Hill. But the tight end value, too good.
And you have the most handsome RB2 in the league, so that's nice.
That I auto-drafted because timers are 30 seconds this time.
Oh. That's your heart that just brings him to your team.
My heart. Right. My heart and Sleeper's algorithm.
Well, the game of QB chicken's now over because Team 6 just drafted a quarterback. So now it's just Swamp Nola there without a quarterback right now through 8 rounds.
How many starters are left?
There's a decent number. There's a decent number of quarterbacks still on the board I'm okay with.
I mean, we got Bryce Young, we got Kyler Murray, Jordan Love, Matthew Stafford, Kenny Pickett. I mean, not top end guys, but there's some potential value in all these guys. Bryce Young, he's got the Konami code ability, much like Anthony Richardson does. Kyler Murray, depending on what his injury is, I'm not expecting him back until probably October at earliest. I mean, when he's suffering the injury and when you had the operation are 2 different things. And he's going to be looking at probably that end of October before he's ready to come back. And by then, hey, I don't know if he's going to want to come back. I mean, if Arizona's out of it, and we've seen this where players don't really rush themselves to come back unless there's really something worth rushing back to, I don't know what we're going to get out of Kyler Murray. So there's a bit of a risk there. Matthew Stafford, we don't know what he's coming back from as well. So it's going to get interesting here. I see that Jordan Love and Bryce Young both come off the board. So it's 2 less quarterbacks here in the 9th round. So things are going to get a little bit sketchy there. And Kenny Pickett, people want to believe in, but this was not a very big offense for pushing the ball down in Pittsburgh last season. So if you're looking for big splash plays, I don't see much of that there. All the quarterbacks here, there are quarterbacks, but there's a lot of question marks when we talk about each of these guys here on the top of the board.
Absolutely. No, the question marks and quarterbacks, like you mentioned. I think somebody that I took with Anthony Richardson has a lot of question marks. But JL took Bryce Young over 4 rounds after him. Do you think those 2 quarterbacks should be going 4 rounds apart, Matt, or do you think they should be a little bit closer?
I think all 3 of these quarterbacks should be going, these rookie quarterbacks in particular, should be all going right around that same range. Anthony Richardson should have the lead on everyone. But CJ Stroud, I mean, you look at the weapons, and it's not like these teams didn't give these quarterbacks weapons. I mean, they're not the greatest weapons, but when you look at Josh Allen, when he came to Buffalo, there was nothing in Buffalo for Josh Allen to work with. These quarterbacks are already coming into something where they've got some dependable targets. We've seen what Carolina did, getting Adam Thielen there, bringing over DJ Chark, signing Hayden Hurst, Miles Sanders. Then we look at what Indianapolis has done. They already had the best friend of a quarterback, and that's a good running back in Jonathan Taylor. And then you add in some of these other players that they have as well through the draft, Josh Downs, Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman, again, options for him. And CJ Stroud, he's got options in Houston, believe it or not. And not to that, you've got a veteran there in Robert Woods. You've got Nico Collins. You've got John Michie. I mean, there are some options for all these quarterbacks to have success early on. I think the difference between guys like Bryce Young and Anthony Richardson over Stroud is their ability to run the ball. Stroud didn't really run a whole heck of a lot in college. He can probably do it. He's more of that prototypical pocket passer compared to the other 2. So for that reason, I mean, I would probably put Richardson just to have maybe a round up on Bryce Young, if at all.
Ryan Baker in the chat said if Murray doesn't come back, where does McCoy rank out of starters? 32.
34.
Oh, 30, yeah, 32. If Murray does come back, I think he will be a value.
Absolutely. I mean, you get yourself a guy, I think he was 3rd in the league in fantasy points per game at the quarterback position or somewhere in there, definitely top 5. So you're going to get yourself a top 5 quarterback when he returns. Now, can you wait for that return? JL, with what you've done, I think you can, because you've got Trevor Lawrence, you got Dak Prescott, and you got Bryce Young already there. So you could take that risk with a guy like Kyler Murray, as long as the rest of your bench gets filled out with some assets where you're not dropping a guy like Kyler Murray by week 4 or week 5 to try to fill out the rest of your lineup.
Yeah.
Craig,
I'm with you.
Gibson. I love that. That's a crazy good build. That comes down to Gibson.
Yeah. Matt, you took Chig. Love seeing that.
I did.
I knew it, Craig.
He queued it up right for you.
Yeah, I know he did. So, yeah, everybody drafts Samaje P. Ryan. And the 10th round is where, yeah, go ahead and take him there. But I was hoping he's going to make it back to me. Matt, have you been hearing anything about Javonte Williams? That maybe we haven't – any news getting up to Canada that's not getting down here to Florida?
Actually, fun story. If you tune into the – selfish plug here. If you tune into the Vipers Network at 5 p.m. Eastern, so right after this show, we sit down and we talk to Robert Turbin, former Super Bowl champion with the Seattle Seahawks, made stops in Dallas, Cleveland, and Indianapolis along the way. And we did ask him this question about Javonte Williams versus Samaje Perine. And he actually says this may be a little hot take, but he actually prefers Samaje Perine over Javonte Williams this season because your best ability is your availability, and we know what Perine is going to be able to do. And the one thing that really gets me going here with Turbin, and he explains it so elegantly, is when he played with Russell Wilson, who happens to be playing with these other 2 backs, Russell Wilson was a check down to touchdown type quarterback who wasn't afraid to check the ball down. Well, Samaje Perine is a great pass-catching back, and that's where we're going to see Javonte Williams likely being limited somewhat, and Samaje Perine getting all that third down work in this Broncos offense. So he prefers, and we don't know what Javonte Williams, what the damage actually is. Is he going to have a Adrian Peterson type comeback this season, or is he going to be more like J.K. Dobbins, where he's going to struggle once he returns for the first 8 weeks before he kind of gets everything going? There is more than one ligament damaged in Javonte Williams' knee, so that could push that recovery to 100% back a little further. And I know you loved hearing about 98% of what I said there, Joey.
No, I'm glad that I can't even speak right now. I'm so flustered and just I'm feeling the vapors and I'm ready for the show to be over so I can go take a cold shower. So JL, who'd you take there? Juju Smith-Schuster?
I did.
I'm a little whew. Now that's cool to hear when you hear that an NFL running back is seeing something like that. And maybe I'm touting myself here, but it's like, okay, maybe, it's good to hear. And I always liked Robert Turbin. I really did. I always use draft picks on him. He's a great guy.
I mean, I joked with him that I was talking about Googling yourself. I'm like, have you ever Googled it yourself? He's like, yeah, I have. I'm like, if you've Googled Robert Turbin, the related searches that come up are like Robert Turbin bicep, Robert Turbin muscles. I'm like, it's like basically Google body shaming me personally when I Google Robert Turbin.
Dang. Reckon Robbie Turbin and yourself. See how it is, Matt.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have any teams without two quarterbacks at this point? I think Swamp might be the only one. Looking real quick.
Well, I don't even know if he's got a quarterback right now. According to the San Francisco 49ers, he doesn't have a quarterback.
Oh, this is a good point.
We got Bob Harris in the chat said these mocks are so damn helpful. Some great analysis really adding to it here. We appreciate you, Bob.
Thanks, Bob. Oh, man.
We got Andrea in the chat said, hi, everyone. What up, Andrea? Welcome in.
Andrea. Thank you for your great questions on Wednesday's mock draft. I really appreciated those. We got Mac Jones going in the 11:07. And I think he might be one of the last starting quarterbacks to go off the board.
Jimmy G. Still got him.
Oh, still there.
And Desmond Ridder, which is the biggest question mark I've ever seen in my life. And I'm really excited to see what happens.
So I did say that I was excited to see what Craig's running backs looked like. And maybe I just talked myself into that happening. I'm now realizing that.
So I don't feel like Desmond Ridder is like a new driver, like a rookie driver, just surrounded by Lamborghinis.
Yeah. So Sky Moore just went off the board in the 12th round, and I believe I took Kadarius Toney in the 9th round. Matt, are there any Kansas City Chiefs wide receivers that you're feeling any type of confidence in? We're pretty confident Travis Kelce is going to be probably the most targets on that team. But as far as the wide receivers go, are there any of them you like particularly more than the other?
No, I hate it. I really do. I mean, I don't know which one's going to be. I mean, this thing with even the Kansas City Chiefs, even last with Juju Smith-Schuster, you could say that he was the number one, but really it was still a committee approach at the wide receiver position. It was like a WRBBC when you look at it. I mean, I'm not even sure that's the right acronym, but I just thought I'd throw a bunch of letters out there to make it sound like I'm smart. With Kansas City, you don't know what you're going to get. I want to say it's going to be Sky Moore. I thought Sky Moore was going to have a bigger role in this offense last season. Another year with Patrick Mahomes and Juju Smith-Schuster moving on, I think it's going to open things up for Sky Moore. I like Rashee Rice. What he can do, he's a bully when he gets the ball in his hands. He's a big man with the ball in the secondary, but he's going to run over people instead of trying to make a miss. I mean, that's Rashee Rice's game. So they're going to appreciate him. He's like another tight end playing wide receiver. And then we're hearing guys like Justin Ross probably sticking into it. And Justin Watson there, he had a good little stint there with the Chiefs last season as well. So I think this is going to be a full-out committee type approach here. But I do like Sky Moore. If I had to draft one Chief ahead of any of the other ones, it's going to be Sky Moore. But I think JL just hit their number 2 wide receiver because when the Chiefs get down into the red zone, they have a tendency to pass the ball rather than run the ball, and that's Jerick McKinnon's role in this Chiefs offense.
I love that. So, Tim, you made your pick. I'm glad you did. Allen Lazard heading over to the Jets from the Packers. Do you think that's someone Aaron Rodgers is going to look at early this season and kind of lean on a little bit?
I think there's going to be a little bit of built-in trust there, and for the value that I'm getting on him, I've got wide receivers all throughout my team. So if I'm getting a guy that he actually winds up gelling with, give me Lazard, man. I think it's worth a shot this late. Absolutely.
Yeah, with the wide receivers still available on the board, I think Lazard's a great pick.
Yeah, love that pick. And Odell Beckham going to SD Cochran there.
I was between them two. I was wondering which one to get back. And then I just wanted Bigsby anyway. So
this is what I was talking about with the queue earlier, Tim. I had Michael Thomas queued up, and I just kept thinking, no way he's going to make it to me. And he did. Of course you took him.
Yeah, I had to because I had Derek Carr. I love stacks in Scott Fishbowl. You got to get as many points as possible. Got to stack.
So if there are people watching who this is their first time playing Scott Fishbowl in this tournament, what what tips do you guys have after playing in the tournament for a couple of years now? How do you approach your strategy? How are you thinking about winning when you're in the draft?
Well, I'll kick it off here because I'll tell you one right now. You can have all the strategy you want when you go into this thing. Forget about it once you get into the draft room because it doesn't mean anything. I mean, the great thing about this draft is it's analysts, it's fans, and it's everything in between. So there's going to be wild cards every single draft you can go in. So you take your ADP, roll it up into a tight ball, and throw it over your shoulder because there's going to be someone drafting a kicker in the 7th round, in the 6th round. A kicker is going to go in one of these drafts in the 6th round, and you're going to be like, well, what just happened here? So you need to be fluid. You need to be able to stick to your board, understand what your board is, what your needs are, but don't be afraid to go off it when you have to. Go get your guys. Have fun with this more than anything. And I think when we talk about the draft itself, it's not so much the draft. It's the great thing. I think is you got the 102 chat rooms, the individual chat rooms. Then you got your league chat rooms. Make those connections, that networking, because that's what it's really about, in my opinion. That's the strategy I think that I look most forward to when I go into these drafts. Is kind of talking to everyone, interacting with everyone that's going to be involved in these things, and just kind of playing it out by ear.
Is that so that you can get them to like you, so that they don't want to beat you? Because that's a very unique strategy, Matt. And I can get on both
mind games.
Joey, I really don't have a likable face. I'm not
Oh,
really
that's
a
not
personal
that.
person. Well, look, you guys see, Joey,
Have
people
you
like
seen your
you, and
mustache, Donnelly?
you and JL have this great smile, and you're like very approachable looking people. If I'm not
I got no
smiling,
facial hair.
if I smile, here's the thing with me. You either get teeth or you get like no eyes. It's one or the other. You can't have both. I can't give you eyes and teeth. If I smile, my eyes shut. If I show you my teeth, my eyes are either open or it doesn't work. So I'm not a very approachable looking individual, right? It just, the mustache probably throws a whole lot of things off.
No, I'm gonna kind of commend you on something, Matt.
No, Joey,
What?
you jerk! I was gonna do it this round.
There's no better sound than someone that you really truly care about yelling at you in a mock draft. Oh, it's so great. No,
Yeah.
Matt, like I have one of my good
nice
friendships.
purple.
I have you to thank
Swamp.
for.
You too? Back-to-back betrayals. Sorry.
I know, so much. No, it's okay. When I gave you a ride home from the Hall of Fame and I got to meet Mauricio. Had I not given you a ride,
right?
if you would have rented a car and not leaned on me that day, I would have never met Mauricio. So while I might have been mad that day driving you back to the hotel, I look at it fondly now.
I'm just glad that people in fantasy football are generally pretty good because I was catching lifts from people I've never met before, from Cleveland down to Canton. I mean, I was just randomly jumping into complete strangers' vehicles and hoping they'd get me to where they wanted to go to.
Yep.
Solid strategy.
We've got some rookie
It
wide
was like
receivers.
college all over again, right? It's basically going back to college, but
We've got, oh man, I love that Wan'Dale Robinson pick, JL. JL, I am loving your draft. I feel like every time I look at your team, you've taken someone that I'm like, oh, I would have taken him.
This is a weird draft for me. It goes into the tip I was going to bring up, which kind of builds off Matt's tips. Is don't go based off ADP. Do not draft your team based off of what you think other people think is the right decision. Scott Fishbowl is all about having the number one roster. The number one out of however many thousands and thousands of people. So make your team an expression of yourself, your own creative expression. Pick those players you want, and make it unique. Don't be afraid to go off script, like Matt was saying.
If Lamar had played those 6 games, I would have won Scott Fishbowl. I'm so upset about it.
That's what it is. It's about like putting yourself in this position to have enough high value bets, high upside bets, that enough of them hit right, and it works out for you. Some seasons it just doesn't. Last season, a bunch of my bets all kind of just immediately farted in the wind from like the start of the season.
Yeah,
Well,
I would add just like trust your guys. That's all I say. I have my guys this year. Tua is one of them. Tyreek is one of them. So I'm going to try and build that stack as often as I can. But yeah, trust your guys, trust your gut. Go for it.
I can't remember who said it. It was either Ian Hartitz or Derek Brown. And they said, if you have Darren Waller as your number 2 tight end, put him as your number 2 tight end. Don't put him where the consensus has him at number 6 or 5 or whatever, because if you put him at number 6, you might not get him. He might not come back to you, right? Sure, you might have to reach to get him if you want to call it reach. But if you believe in that player, that's the guy that you need to go out there and get. Oh, what do I do here now?
JL, did you cover the? I know we don't talk politics here at FYF, but did you cover the political message announcement that was made on our show by
You're
Maria?
gonna have to be more specific.
By Maria, that Bob Harris is running for
Oh, that's not
president.
what I wanted.
Yeah, I did cover that.
Bob, I am happy to be in your cabinet. Should you reach that goal? I don't know what I could do in the cabinet.
I wasn't asking.
Well, I'm offering.
We can be in the cupboard.
Any of your cabinets.
What would your cabinet position be, Tim? What would you if you had to be in the
Probably on that little spice spinner guy.
Secretary of Good Vibes, I think. In
Nice.
general, I would probably plan out more parties and stuff throughout the year. I think the world needs that, so I think that's what it would be.
I'd be chief officer of the turmeric.
I don't.
That's a spice joke.
Oh, I thought a turmeric was the thing that's like a toga. That's a tunic.
That's
Okay, yeah, I was way off.
Tuneric.
Oh god, it's not a character, people. It's real. Oh man, did I auto draft? All right. So we see. Oh, so Jordan's got 4 tight ends. Look at that.
I know, it's really messing me up.
Craig's got 1. Usually Craig is grabbing quite a few here.
No, Craig's got 2. He's got Kelce at the top.
Oh, because I scrolled down.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. See, I know Craig's drafting tendencies. I wish I was on draft with him. What was that, Matt?
Swamp Nola doesn't have, I don't think, a tight end yet.
Well, he's going to get his pick of the litter.
The litter.
All right. So let's see here. So I was mentioning earlier that we had some rookie wide receivers going off the board with Rashee Rice and Jonathan Mingo. Tim, you took Mingo. How do you feel about him?
I feel fine at this late. I think it's, I believe more in the Carolina offense than I think the consensus does. I think they will do better than we think, especially in the mess of the NFC South. So give me a dude who's entering the league with his young QB. That's a different type of rapport that you get that, sometimes you don't get with your veterans. So give me that upside. I'll take it. And who else? I mean, you have Thielen out there, but limited targets for that offense could go to this guy. Who knows?
Here. Awesome. There's a pick I like, Irv Smith, Matt, with Cincinnati. Last year, it was a Hayden Hurst that I was expecting to get some work there, and Cincinnati didn't really seem to pan out. But there's a lot of good buzz coming out about Irv Smith.
There's been a lot of good buzz coming out of Irv Smith for the last 3 seasons.
Yeah.
And then then it just disappears and he shoots himself in the foot there. And we're talking not about Irv Smith. Every year, Irv Smith feels like a breakout candidate. I mean, I think I've been preaching him as a dynasty mustache player for the last 4 seasons. It really feels like that. But this year's different. This year is different, people, because where do you go to get paid as a tight end? You go to Cincinnati. That's what happened. CJ Uzomah secured that bag there at the New York Jets. Then Hayden Hurst, he went out there and he secured the bag with the Carolina Panthers. This is going to be the year for Irv Smith Jr. I swear, it has to be, right? It has to be. For my own sanity, this has to be the year.
Oh, I made a mistake.
What did you make a mistake in, JL? Walk us through what you're going through, the mental anguish.
No, I don't
that you're going
want
through
to
right now.
because I'm mad about it.
Is it Isaiah Likely? Is that what you don't like?
No.
Okay.
I wish I would have won a different player.
Okay. I kind of like the Gallup and the Likely picks.
Wow.
I like that. I'm just trying to boost your confidence because I believe in you as a colleague. I get to be on the clock.
I don't believe in myself.
Well,
We got
start
Bob Harris.
believing in yourself.
Said you all get to write your own ticket to my cabinet, which is comfortable and rooms as much as cabinets can be.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. We all have a place to stay in Bob's cabinets.
I bet Bob Harris's cabinet's kind of like the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Like you go into Narnia, but like a Bob Harris version of Narnia. I bet it's pretty cool.
Bald. Bald in Narnia? I don't know. What's a Metallica version of Narnia?
Lots of eagles screaming and lots of hard rock music.
Instead of the lion, it's just James Hetfield.
It sounds. There's a game that Jack Black made. It was like heavy metal or something like that. It sounds almost like that.
Oh, I feel like I played that game.
Got some kickers going off here now. Yeah. Here's some Bucker, Young Hook.
Butker's
We're
one
wrapping
I'm
down.
surprised with.
So how are we doing on time? Do we want to add some rounds to this? Or are we going to get
sure.
through the 18? Okay. Yeah, I can add one more round.
I think you're the host.
I know. I'm trying to remember how to do that. We're going to figure it out here live. Oh, just you click this little.
Just like every other league. John Burns said a mustache player. Yeah, Matt, whenever you said that, I definitely heard mustache too.
Oh, that's exactly. So that's cute. I don't have very many things that go with my name, right? When you look for titles of shows and whatnot, Matt, it doesn't really work with anything. Donnelly, it's not like you can't go like if my name and last name was Price, I can't go like fantasy price check, ha ha ha, right? So it had to be the dynasty mustache player. There's a little bit of humor involved in all that. So yeah, I probably did say mustache with my Canadian accent. Everything kind of goes together. It's like half English, half French. My English, I speak like I speak French, where it's really quick, and sometimes my verbs, my nouns get kind of flipped. So, Jayla, you know what that's all about when you flip the verbs.
Flipping them all the time. Can't stop flipping them.
Swamp.
Thank you.
Brutal
Legend.
Yeah. Oh, Brutal Legend.
That game was good. It was a little basic, but it's a good game. I enjoyed it. To run around, like hit people with your guitar.
That's what I do on like Fridays. So they made a video game that does that?
Mm-hmm. Jack Black did.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. What kind of guitar did he use to hit people?
It's like an axe guitar, if I remember correctly. It was a long time ago. I probably 17 years or something. We got Isaiah in the chat. Isaiah Fingers. Hi, just subbed. Well, welcome. Glad you were here, Isaiah.
Hey, thanks, Isaiah.
I hope you hop in on the next mock draft that we do.
Yeah.
It's super fun.
Pop over to our Discord. We always throw those links to the mock drafts in the Discord first, before we go anywhere else with those links, because we love our front yard fantasy family. Boy, there's a lot of F's in there.
Oh,
Tim, we're kind of approaching the end here.
It was going to happen.
Let's go.
No, I added a round, but it's not on there. Oh, it says draft complete. I can't add anymore.
Oh, I was going to add Bobby Trees. Dang it.
That's okay. This is a good Scott Fishbowl draft. Man, even though we've been doing mock drafts, doing a Scott Fishbowl mock draft, like this is the first one I think I've really done. I need to start practicing. This is a wake-up call.
See, and every draft I do, every mock draft for Scott Fishbowl I've ever done through, I can't remember when the first one was, 7 maybe, Scott Fishbowl 7. Whenever I do a mock draft, it never turns out like the mock draft. It's completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't matter how we select or what spot I select from or whatever it looks like. Whatever mock drafts I do, it never turns out to be what my league actually ends up doing.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And the Scott Fishbowl, it gets like amplified because everybody's trying to do something different on the day. So that is such a great call out, Matt.
And the best part is I think there's other tools out there that we get every once in a while where you can see the highest drafted share of Darren Waller and who drafted this guy the earliest, who drafted this guy the latest. And I'll be honest, sometimes QB Chicken's a big one. I think that's come up there a few times there that everyone's like, oh, and you go through all, I don't know, Scott, I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher this right now. You go through like all 300 drafts that are going out there right now, and you can see exactly who's being drafted. I can't.
Roto Grinders, yeah. Josh
Roto Grinders,
yeah. I think it's
fantastic tool. I mean, I get lost in that tool, man. I get playing around in there and I forget what's going on.
Yeah, it's a super valuable resource. All the tooling around Scott Fishbowl and the content people are putting out now, go check that out because there are people who have been playing in this tournament for many years, Scott Fish included. We're going to give you really good insight, good advice.
Yeah, last year I was trying to pull off this like stack of wide receivers, and in not one single mock draft, I tried to do it. Ones that we had here on FYF, and at my live Scott Fishbowl draft, I finally pulled it off because it was a mix of people I hadn't drafted with before.
Yeah,
Craig wasn't there to snipe me on the players I wanted.
Yep, Samaje Perine.
Should have known about Tyreek right at the start, but
you should have known.
But Christian McCaffrey's sitting there. I got to make it look good.
Oh man, Matt, thank you so much for joining us. This is a ton of fun and valuable to me. I hope the chat got some value out of it as well, and Joey because he really needs to practice. He didn't do so good in Scott Fishbowl last year.
Yeah, I made semifinals.
Not good enough, Joey. 1 or nothing.
This is true.
70th overall,
a little bit better. We all can't be Dame,
Yeah, Dame crushed it.
If you're not already following Matt Donnelly, go follow him at Matt Donnelly FF. It's right there under his beautiful mustache. He's a great follow on Twitter and just a great human. If you spend any amount of time with Matt Donnelly, you know he is the kindest person, just a sweetheart, a Canadian sweetheart. So make sure you go follow Matt. And if your fingies aren't tired enough from that, come back here, hit that like button, subscribe to Front Yard Fantasy on YouTube. We're here every single day, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, playing this game show and having fun. All right, boys, ready to get out of here?
I think he's got a draft tonight, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah. If you're around at 9:30 tonight, Eastern Standard Time. Is it Standard Time or just Eastern Time? I don't know. 9:30 tonight when the sun's down. Just look at your clock. If it says 9:30, go over to the Front Yard Fantasy YouTube and take a look. I might be there talking. We're doing a mock draft tonight, tight end premium, and I have a mystery guest.
Ooh.
Very mysterious guest. Yeah.
I don't even think I know.
I don't think I told you.
That
Because
explains-
it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission when it came to this guest. So
Oh, you sound like you've been married for a while.
I'm just gonna
I
let it
just been working with me.
let it happen, and then Simon will call me from the Netherlands. Joey, what are you doing? Tim will just think it's funny, and JL, he's just reworking my contract as we speak.
right now.
In anticipation.
All right, we're gonna get out of here. Enjoy your weekend. We'll be back Monday, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, here on the Better Sports Network. See you then. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Adios, my friends.